Happy Wine Wednesday.
Happy Wine Wednesday, everybody. I hope you all are having a fantastic week.
Yes.
Anyways, Misha and I, Misha and I were just cracking up because we were preparing for this episode, and we were talking. Well, I'm not gonna ruin it, but Michelle was getting into her rose and her thorn. We were just chatting about it, catching up because we haven't talked to each other in a while. And she said she was in her gardening, and then she had a Freudian slip and said error instead of era, and I'm dying because that's literally me to a T. Like, I started a garden in my backyard, and then my husband and I went to Italy, and we had a historical amount of rain here, and so that's good. That should theoretically keep the plants alive. And I planted some Texas native shrubs, you guys, straight up shrubs, and they died when I was gone.
Oh my gosh.
How did I kill literally these things? If you live in Austin, you've seen them just on the side of the road, okay? They require no tending. And
so wait, how did they die then?
Because they're in my yard.
Okay.
That's why, genuinely. But that's neither
Did you
here
talk
nor
to them?
there. What?
Did you talk to them?
I didn't talk to them, and I also kind of neglected them a little more, in terms of giving them love and attention than I did my roses in the front yard. Those survived, so maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, we're all about the booze.
It's so funny.
Over at Empowered Women Live.
Yeah.
But anyways, we're so excited to be back with you guys. I know it has been a while. It has been a crazy year for Michelle and I, but we have some really exciting stuff coming your way. And I'm really excited about today's episode because I feel not only is it very timely for me, but I also just feel like I've been seeing it a lot, specifically on the internet. And I think that, first of all, Michelle is a guru at this. And I think that we have a lot of really good tips to share with you guys about what's been helpful for us. We were talking about how to get out of a funk, and then basically giving you guys some practical steps to regain your motivation, and then smaller moments of joy. But before we get into that, we obviously have to discuss the wine that I'm not drinking because I've already had the bottle. So I apologize for that. I'm going to drink something else in its stead. We drank it over the weekend. Okay. And that's because it's such an amazing pairing mechanism. But for those of you who haven't seen online already, our wine of the week this week is a Riesling, and it's from Germany. And there are a lot of Rieslings from that region. And Riesling is one of those wines, to me, that gets a really bad rap because everyone thinks that it's really sweet, and sometimes it can be. But there are bone dry varietals of Riesling, and it's an amazing pairing mechanism. It goes with so many awesome foods. This one specifically is in a lesser known region of Germany, and it's often overlooked for its counterpart, the Mosel, which is where a lot of the Riesling is from. This is not from the Mosel, it's from the Nahe region, and it's really crisp, really mineral driven, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I love it. It is called, I'm going to mispronounce this, so I apologize, the Don Hof. You guys should go get it. It's really affordable, and just goes with so many other things, especially spicy food or Asian food. That's what I paired it with last night. So anyhow, highly recommend. And let's get into our rose and thorn that I already ruined for you, Michelle.
It is fine. Okay, let's see. We'll start off with the thorn. So unfortunately, I'm not enjoying a nice Riesling, which I wish I was, but I was going to go out and get the bottle, but I looked at that Wine Finder app, and sadly, the only place in New York City that had it was across town. So I didn't have time to go get it. And then also I was going to go and get a white wine downstairs at my local wine store, but I didn't have time either because this week has been an absolute, I've just been slammed, which is a good thing. But I am drinking a red wine and it's just so I know some people don't really care if they're drinking red during the summer, but typically I like whites during the summer. But this is actually from the Christmas tree farm that we got our Christmas tree at in December.
Oh
So
my gosh.
sentimental, but yeah, so that's my thorn.
I'm
And as Jenny was saying earlier, I have entered my gardening era. Not error, but I
same,
guess
same.
so far so good. But this is the first year that we've actually planted some like veggies, and they've actually been like blooming. And I'm just so excited. And then one of my orchids, I'll actually show you guys. So it looks beautiful. But look at how pretty it is and how much it's like budding.
Michelle's
So
the only
really,
person I know that can keep an orchid alive.
but yeah, I'm really excited for it. But I mean, it is getting a little spotty because I think it's getting a little too much sun. So I've been like trying to move it around my apartment during different times of the day.
So they're so persnickety. They need so much love and affection. It's
They
wild.
do. They do. So that is my rose for the week. What about you, Jenny?
Okay, let's start with my thorn so that we can end on a good note. So if you guys got our newsletter last week, you saw that the airlines have a lot more regulations if they cancel or move your flight substantially. And on my way back from Sweden, Delta Airlines just straight up canceled my flight until the next day. And Taylor Swift was in town. So we had to like find accommodations at a heightened rate. And it was a disaster area. And I called them and they are giving us absolutely no accommodations. Like we've gone through the whole appellate process, everything. Like I feel like the economy is shifting so much right now and everything's so tight that people just don't want to pay. So they're doing everything they can to just not, which is really disappointing because they have some of the highest customer service ratings. So I was surprised and unnerved and very upset. But I guess the flip side of that is my rose was I got to see Taylor Swift in Stockholm twice, and they were two of the best nights of my life. And everybody should go see the Eras tour, like genuinely. If you have the opportunity, you should go see the Eras tour. It is something to be seen. It lives up to the hype and beyond. And it's like I just love to be a part of things. First of all, I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, as you know, but I also just love to be a part of things that are historical, right? Like this is such a huge moment in time. And to be able to say, like, not only did I see her in concert on the Eras tour, but I saw like her European leg with the Torture Poets department. Like I just
was gonna say that was like huge.
so massive. The surprise songs like just hit, y'all. Like they hit so good both nights. Like I was meant to be in that room both times and I just like had the best time. So I loved it.
It seemed like it was so much fun. I was stalking Jenny, like just refreshing my Instagram stories, like waiting for her to go to the next one.
I was that crazy person, like filming it and then like sending it to Michelle. And then like literally I tried to get her to come to Sweden like 3 days before, but she hates me and didn't come.
I know. I wish I could have. That would have been so fun.
But I did make her promise me that if we find like tickets drop for a reasonable price that we're going. So I'm holding her to that.
Yes, definitely.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's get into it, you guys.
Yes.
One of the things that I've really struggled with as somebody who is a happy-go-lucky person most of the time is having low moods because I'm very obstinate and stubborn and I always try to figure out a way to talk myself out of a low mood instead of realizing that it's a part of life. And we just wanted to go through some steps with you guys on what's been helpful for us and how you can not only just like acknowledge that you're having a low mood, but like lean into it and figure out how to put yourself in the best position to not spiral because that can happen as well. So first and foremost, you need to acknowledge your feelings. And I know that sounds so intuitive, but if you're anything like me, you don't do it most of the time. Like you spend so much of your time talking yourself out of why you'd be in a bad mood or asking the question, why am I feeling this way when I shouldn't be feeling this way, right? And the answer to that question is really simple. It's that nobody can be happy 100% of the time. And you really don't want to be happy 100% of the time because that detracts from like the truly high highs in your life. And those moments are just as special. And having the lows can really exemplify those in your mind and put you in a better, mindset to be able to appreciate it. And For me, one of the best ways to kind of get out of that I don't want to be here mindset and start acknowledging you are here, Jenny, has been to journal, right? And I know that a lot of people struggle with that conceptually and what that actually looks like. It doesn't look like anything for it doesn't look the same for any single person, right? It doesn't have to be this like regimented thing where you're following a prompt. If you want to follow a prompt, you can. But for me, oftentimes it just means taking out a journal and then literally just like word vomiting on the page, whatever comes to mind. And it's not cohesive, but sometimes I surprise myself and something will come out that I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that I was like holding on to that. And when you start to do that, then you can start to kind of work through those things, or maybe not. Later, you can return to it and work to it if you're repetitively writing this stuff down. Also, just understanding the root cause of like why you may be in a funk. Sometimes life throws you some curveballs, y'all, and you're going to be in a situation where you feel like it's been raining every single day. So it's understandable that you're in a funk. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, but if you understand why, it can really help to tailor your approach and help you to ultimately get out of your funk. If it's kind of the why behind the what. You don't always have it, but if you do, there's certain steps that you can take to circumvent, right? One thing that I really want to reiterate when I'm talking about that is like, if you are somebody who is obsessed with details and just very type A, like I am, don't spend so much of your time perpetuating, why am I in this funk if you don't know? Sometimes it's not important. And sometimes if you continually do that, like if it's not immediately coming to you, take yourself out of it for a minute. Because if you don't, then you're going to spiral and it's going to be super counterproductive. So I think like for me, before I take any steps to circumvent whatever funk or deal with my low mood, it's just acknowledging that I'm in one. And it's just kind of taking a step back and putting myself in a position where I can actually earn the perspective and work through whatever it is that I'm dealing with on an emotional level or maybe a physical level. Like you never know what it's stemming from.
Right. Exactly. And to Jenny's point, the first step is to kind of acknowledge what you're feeling. And then after that, you can make corrections and kind of work yourself through it. So that brings us to our next point of one of the ways to get out of that funk if you are feeling kind of lowly motivated, not really joyful, is to establish a routine. And I actually used this myself this week because I was just kind of feeling like in a funk and not really motivated, and actually took the time to actually do something that I love to do. And one thing I will say here is that you don't have to be that person that's waking up at 5 a.m. every morning and working out and going to the gym and being like, oh, I have to get there at 5 a.m. It could be just something so small of setting up yourself every day. So that means maybe waking up 10 minutes earlier to read 10 pages of a book, and just make sure that you're being consistent with it. Because I must say, when I am sticking to my routine, I feel so much better and so much more motivated. And it's kind of weird sometimes to think just waking up and reading my book, or I like to read the Daily Stoic Daily and then read 10 pages of a self-development book. And doing that, I feel leads me up to have a successful day. It's strange. It's sometimes it's oh, this is cool. That actually works. And let me tell you, when you are feeling, that persistent stress, adding some structure into your life will truly help you and help you dig you out of that hole. It's almost like your routine is so structured that you don't really have time to kind of let loose and be in a funk where you know that you have stuff to do and you want to get it done. Yeah. Another thing that helps me a lot is to get organized. So I actually did this yesterday, and yesterday afternoon I was in such a funk and just not feeling motivated, but my to-do list was a mile long. I was like, okay, what are we going to do to get out of this funk? I know we're feeling it. So I actually just organized my desk and just made sure everything was in its place, and actually gave me motivation to continue working. And another thing about the exercise, I know we bring this quote up a lot, but one of our favorite quotes from famous Elle Woods is exercising releases endorphins, and endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't kill their husbands.
Which also, by the way, not to interrupt you, but did you know they're doing another Legally Blonde?
There are?
Yeah.
Oh, when does it come out? Do we know?
No idea, but Reese is doing it.
I'm so excited.
It's going to be amazing. We're going to pull so many nuggets out of it. And honestly, like to Michelle's point, like about getting organized, like I'm just going to piggyback off of that because like I don't remember, you know, what the exact phrase is, but I know like when your mind is cluttered, when your house is cluttered, your mind is cluttered, right? So for me, when I feel like I can't attack whatever is cluttering my mind, I will attack what is cluttering my house. Or I'll do like a little project. Like I just cleaned out my closet and got rid of like all the clothes that I haven't worn in a year, which is really liberating if you guys haven't done that. And it just creates so much more space to then tackle whatever is going on between your ears. For me, that's been historically proven. And then of course, I mean, you got to exercise in some capacity. Like don't just like go back to the gym if you haven't been there in forever. Start with a walk, right?
Yeah.
Start with some light stretching, but put yourself in a position where you can start to build that into your routine because it's proven. There are studies coming out right now that exercise is more helpful than talk therapy. Now, I'm not a therapist, so I can't speak to that, but it's an interesting concept, right? This is something that you have complete control over. So it's amazing that you can just avail yourself to that at any time.
Right. Exactly. And then just last point under establishing a routine, but also if you feel like you need to prioritize sleep, that's okay. Like last night I went to bed like 2 hours earlier than I normally do. And I slept until my alarm went off and I knew that my body needed it. So it's okay. And I know some people are like, oh, like, you know, you have to just get your 7 to 8 hours or, you know, work till you get everything done. But if you feel like you need to chill, take a chill night, sleep a little bit more, it's okay. We're giving you permission to do that.
You have our permission. If you do not rest, your body will make you.
Exactly.
So yeah, and then another thing that is really helpful, especially if you're a social being, but Michelle and I talk about this all the time, is whenever you're in a low mood, take the time to reach out and connect with others. I know it's super tempting to kind of like sink into like an endless rot day and binge watch Gilmore Girls or whatever it is that's your juju. For me, that would be Gilmore Girl reruns. But it really is crucial, especially during those times, to prioritize connecting with others. And there's multiple reasons behind why this is effective. One, it gives you a sense that you have a community and that you're no longer lonely. Two, it shifts your focus from yourself and whatever it is that you're dealing with to others. You're engaging with them. And even if you're just sharing your personal challenges with them and they're helping, or you're taking an interest in their life, either way, it's incredibly helpful, right? Because it puts you in a position to take your eyes off of whatever it is that's going on between your ears. And focus on somebody else. And that always makes me feel better. And there's one caveat to that though, you guys, make sure that these folks that you're reaching out to connect with, make sure that they are individuals that fill your cup and not energy vampires, because I know we've all had that friend where every time you're around them, they're such a drag. And if you're already in a low mood and then you start engaging with somebody like that, it's going to have the opposite effect and make you feel worse. So just make sure to look out for energy vampires and try to just protect yourself from them at all costs, even when you're not in a low mood, because it's just going to exacerbate whatever issues that you're having to go through. And life's too short. Like genuinely, life's too short. There are way too many good people out there. And then lastly, cultivate your hobbies. We talk about that all the time here. For me, that would look like escaping into a romance novel, watching old 90s chicks flicks. Like that's like one of my favorite things to do. Like they just don't make them like that anymore. They really don't. Like honestly, like they all suck now. I'm just going to say it. I know that that's like an unpopular opinion, but they do. Go on a hike, for like romanticize your life, right? Like frequent your favorite coffee shop or wine shop that you normally like save for a special occasion. Like if you're working, like take a minute, go out and like go get your favorite cup of coffee. Like it can wait. Your work will be there when you get back. And just make sure that you're not saving everything that you're doing for special occasions. It's okay to romanticize a Tuesday. in your life. Okay. And then I always say my fallback is if all else fails, put on Taylor Swift. She always makes me feel better.
That's funny.
Depending on what era I'm in.
My boyfriend like knows to leave me alone when he hears Taylor Swift like blasting and me just screaming my lungs out. He's like, okay.
He's like, all right. That reminds me of when I was visiting you, Mish, and we like subjected Chris to like hours of TTPD at like the top, like the loudest volume that existed. Sorry, Chris.
We did. We were like screaming our lungs out, and he actually, so he was building. We recently moved, and he was building all of our new furniture, and he just stayed up with us for like hours, and we were just playing Taylor Swift. And actually, talked to him about it like the next day, and I was like, oh, like thank you for doing that, because he doesn't particularly love Taylor Swift and her music. So I was like, well, thank you, for taking the time and listening with us and keeping us company. And he was like, I actually learned a lot. I was listening to you guys.
It was from all the narcotics in her songs.
Yes.
Dad, oh my gosh.
All right. Well, next tip that we have for you guys on how to get out of your rut is to practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. We always come back to this time and time again, but whether that's meditation, breathing exercise, light therapy, working out, grounding, pick one that works for you and just kind of roll with it. And you could also experiment with different ones and see which one you like better. I know sometimes, like, particularly, I'm not the biggest fan of meditation. I just get horrible ADD and I can't focus. And I can't sit still and just like be with my thoughts. So I know that it doesn't work for me. I've tried it numerous times, but then also what activities like actively quiet your mind that you can do. And once you find what works, just start implementing it into your routine more frequently and stick with it. I'll share a quick story about my dad, but I went over to his house the other day, and on the TV he had, he was watching two, I guess different programs on YouTube. He loves YouTube. So
he does love YouTube.
So I walk in and he's listening to mindfulness techniques and quotes. And then the next day I walk in and he's listening to stoicism sayings. And he said that he had a really rough day at work. He was very agitated, and he actually put these meditations and sayings on to help him actually relax before he reacted a way that he didn't want to. And I was like, wow. I was
I love that.
Me too. And I was like, I never heard my dad actually say a thing like that or practice something like that. So it was totally coming from left field. I was like, oh my gosh, I love that. But now that's what he does. So if he needs to kind of practice relaxation, he puts on his little stoicisms and he'll listen to them. And he loves it. He'll actually send me a few too. During the day.
YouTube's #1 subscriber, you guys.
It's so funny. I just never know when I'm gonna find him watching when I walk in on YouTube.
I'm here for the education and the entertainment. Please enlighten us every time. We love to hear it.
So definitely some mindfulness and relaxing techniques will help you get out of your funk.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just make sure you're authentic in that, right? Don't try to force it if it doesn't feel natural to you. I know that sounds intuitive, but a lot of people try and then you don't do anything that's helpful.
Right.
And so, the last note that I want to leave you guys on is one of my favorite quotes, which is funny because Michelle's the quote queen. But the quote is, it's always okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. And that is a refrain that I always try to remind myself of. And one of the beauties of life is the fact that it is impermanent, right? Everything is temporary, even your good feelings, your bad feelings. And once you understand that, and you understand that there's no super quick fix whenever you're feeling blue, or whenever, God forbid, it's something a little bit more serious and you're actually battling with depression, which these techniques aren't going to work for, right? That's when you need to seek a therapist. You just have to remember that these techniques, if you are in a low mood, can really offer comfort during low times. And nothing is more important than your mental health. Like, you never want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that long term. That's why we always talk about, establishing boundaries and putting yourself in a position where you can say no to things that are going to be a drag. And your mood is directly tied to your mental health. So just make sure that you're prioritizing stabilizing that when you can. And these tips have really been helpful for us. We hope they're helpful for you. If you guys have any other techniques, we are super open to engaging with you guys. We always love to hear from you about what's been helpful. And also, just a quick announcement, our newsletter is going to be coming out tomorrow, as it always does on Thursdays. And we have some really exciting things to share with you guys. And we're also talking all about Europe and giving you guys recommendations for a Euro trip, since I just got back from one. So if you guys are planning a Europe trip anytime soon, this one is for you guys.
Oh, yes. And let me just tell you, I read it already because I couldn't wait. And I immediately texted Jenny and said, I want to plan my trip. So I did right now.
Your trip to go see Taylor Swift, which we're doing.
Yes. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yeah.
I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and hopefully you're enjoying a bottle of the good.
Yes. Be Wine Wednesday, y'all. We'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.